Good morning, Orod.
Good morning, Soma. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Well, I'm always good in the morning. You should ask me in the afternoon.
Not doing that. How's the weather? It's been raining in Sydney, so
Yeah, nah, here it's good actually. It's still early morning, a little bit chilly, but no, yesterday was good and today it's not cloudy, so that's a good sign, but you never know with Melbourne's weather, you know.
that's true. That's true.
So let's not jinx Melbourne's weather.
Yeah, definitely. Let's do that. Um, I believe we have something very special today, right? Because we are not talking about a myth, rather we are talking about real
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah, so today I thought that it's better not to talk about Kanban myth. Instead, talk a little bit about the benefit that I got and my client got after we design our workflow. So, in episodes ago, I think I talked a little bit about what happened, and we didn't have a proper workflow, so we just had three-column backlog in progress done. And after that, we design a proper workflow
Mm,
so rather than following the task, now we actually following the work on the workflow and move them. And
mm.
after we've done that, which is for almost 2 weeks ago, so now we got some benefit, which I thought would be good to share with everyone because that's probably many people's problem.
Orod, sorry to interfere. I would actually like you to start with the pain point. So when you had the three columns, what did you observe? What were the pain points?
Yeah, good question. So the biggest problem was we didn't know that who is doing what and where the works actually stopped or blocked. So
Mm.
we had maybe 70 items in progress,
Wow.
and they went through individual tasks and each work item user story broken into 10 to 15 individual tasks, right? So we had a lot of tasks, and during the stand up, people were confused and it took longer than expected, and people start talking about a really small task and a small problem, right? um and then we propose a different approach. We discuss it with almost everyone, about 20 people,
Mhm.
and they agreed to design a workflow to see how these work items or user story move on the
Mhm.
board. So that was
Oh.
that was basically the root cause,
Mhm.
um, because it was not possible to track, right? That was the root cause. And then during a workshop, we agreed to design a workflow to observe the flow of the work.
So you mentioned something about 20 people. So you like based on our last episode where we discussed that Kanban doesn't
Mhm.
work on a big team. So you do have a really big team, right? Or a very large number of people coming together to deliver this piece of work
Yeah.
that you are working on. So one of the other question when you had the three columns, did you see any cultural implication on the team for having those three columns? Did people did they get away with like hiding or blaming each other for not getting the work done? Did that happen?
So, well, blaming, it's been one of the main issue that we had from the beginning.
Mm.
It was difficult to identify that they actually the problem. You know what I mean? So people talk about a lot of things, but it was difficult to track. And
Mm.
that's actually one of the benefit we got after we designed the workflow, which we can talk a little bit about it shortly.
I like it because this is one of the main reason is that when you do not have visualization that how the work is flowing, one of the major implication of that is that people don't take the ownership
Mhm.
of the work, if that makes sense. So it is very easy to tell each other off that, okay, it's your fault, not mine.
But
So you highlighted that. That's
yeah.
really good.
And also, because we use digital tools, right? I'm not naming, but I think almost all of them pretty much the same. So
Yeah.
user story or the bigger item can have only one assignee while multiple people work on that, right? And maybe one of the tasks is blocked, which is assigned to someone else, but people always ask the assignee, where we at with this?
Mm.
Rather than ask the actual person who's unblocking this item.
That's a very good point. So let's move to the benefits now. Now that you have a proper workflow to experiment with, what are
Mhm.
the things that you have seen like, changed over 2 weeks?
Mm. So one of the biggest advantage that now we have is that now we easily can identify the work that's, for example, waiting for business to review or waiting for the internal reviewer or, the items that are blocked. So for example,
Mm,
currently we have 13 work items that are blocked due to lack of information and stuff like that. Before that, it was very difficult to identify them. Now we look at it and say, 13 works are blocked, right? And as part of my weekly report, so last week on Friday, I put it on the report, right? So no lying or exaggerating or anything like that, right? So everyone see it. So I put it on the report, and so now client is jumping up and down to unblock them. Right?
Wow.
So they were like, oh, 13, because this report will go to executive as well, right? So people will ask them why you haven't provided information for them, right? So now, we identified that some of the problems are
Mm,
basically client's problem or
mm,
business problem, and they are, maybe I should paraphrase. So now we can easily convince them or tell them that you are part of the problem. So it's not just these people deliver the work, but the work are blocked and waiting for you as well, right? So now maybe, the CIO can talk to another, exec and escalate it to them and say, okay, your team needs to spend some time to unblock this one. If this is a strategically highest priority for the organization, then everyone needs to unblock and everyone needs to be part of it and participate.
So that's really good because it uncovers a lot of truth and fact-based decision making, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And now we also can see that people are overloaded, for example.
Mm,
And now we can easily, not, of course, not very easy, but still, easy enough to identify that some people are ahead of schedule
mm,
and some people are behind. So those who are ahead can help, other people.
So was this not visible when you had only three columns?
No, because how you can identify who is waiting for what if you have,
Only-
80 user story in one column?
Yeah, that's a very good point.
It's difficult. And
And
then you need to go into individual task, right?
yeah,
And when you have 80 user story, then you ended up with maybe, I don't know, 200 tasks,
that's
even
true.
more, right?
Yeah.
So it's very, very difficult to go through 200 tasks and see who is doing what and who's waiting and stuff like that.
And this is another thing that we have highlighted again and again, the benefit of workflow.
Mm,
It helps you to visualize everything, not only how the work flows, but also the risk that comes with it, if there is any, the bottlenecks, the impediments that's part of the system, the delays,
exactly.
and
And
you are
now,
using that.
so now because we identified that we have 13 blocked item,
Mm,
that indicates that we didn't have a good upstream work, right? We didn't
mm,
spend enough on our planning and discovery, right?
mm,
So now I'm talking to the, product owners and, the business owners and
mm,
make it their problem and say, if you don't want same thing happen in the next iteration, so you
mm.
need to come with your priority. You need to identify which item will be blocked very soon because of lack of information, and either provide the information or set up some meeting with the business or don't plan for them. Because if you plan, then they will be blocked again.
That's true.
Now
Yeah.
it's their choice, right? So they can make decision.
Mm. One of the best benefit that I can see is that when you have a proper workflow, which really reflects the stages of your work, it also helps people to take ownership for
Hmm.
end to end, right? Because it's not about who is doing what, it's about let's get this work done. And everyone jumps on it. So I believe you are also like experiencing that shift of culture. Is that helping the team to
Oh,
identify and
absolutely. So let me tell you another one, another
yeah.
culture change that happened, right?
Yeah.
So before that, client was respond or stay between the delivery team and
Mm,
the business, right? So the client that I'm talking about, they are kind of our stakeholders, right? They're between delivery
mm,
team and the business. So
mm,
before that, client keep saying we are going to provide information. You're not supposed to talk to business directly, right? So they've
mm,
been an impediment. They slow us down,
mm,
right? And
mm,
I talked to client multiple times, but didn't really improve. Okay. So now
mm,
when we saw that we have a lot of work item in the backlog, so in blocked, and
mm,
also, clients saw that, okay, we have maybe 20 items to review and 20 business needs to review. So they realize, okay, we are busy, right? And now we know that
yeah.
we are the bottleneck and we slow you down, right? So
Mm,
very easily
mm,
in like 1 hour session with the client, they said that, okay, if you want to talk to business, directly go and talk to business. Don't wait for us,
wow.
right?
That's
So that's a huge culture change. And I'm
yes.
talking about a very low mature organization with lack of trust,
Yeah. Yeah. I
right?
think
In different level of organization.
oh, definitely. That is I would say a really massive win and achievement for the team because now they have got access to first-hand information, which
Hmm.
is really important
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
doing
because
good.
before that they provide 100 pages, and I'm not kidding, 100 pages of document and say you need to read this document and figure out what to do.
Wow. Okay. That's that, I'm not going to say anything about it, but it looks like yes. So just a simple change, right? Visualizing the different stages of work in terms of workflow has given you so many benefits, and not only you, the people who are doing the work.
Absolutely. So now the next step, I don't know if I can achieve it or not,
Hmm.
is to visualize the upstream because now we visualize downstream,
Yeah.
but we haven't visualized upstream,
Yeah.
which basically tell the client and everyone that what item, work item or user stories are ready and we
Hmm.
have enough information and won't be blocked, and which items are not ready.
Hmm.
Okay? So that will be the next step. I think it really helps them. I'm not very positive that it will actually happen because I think, they still very immature to understand this one. And also, but um, I have I organize different meeting and different processes to kind of track those upstream, but not on the Kanban board.
Yeah.
So ideally, we should have them on the Kanban board, but at the moment, it's not on the Kanban board. So it's a little bit painful for me because I need to email people. These are the items we plan for next one. Are we ready? Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So if upstream will happen, I think that also will help a lot and save a lot of time. So that's the next step of the improvement.
Yeah. Definitely. And people who are working in the downstream, sometimes they do not have any influence over the upstream. But that is okay, right? Because you are in a very good position. You can influence them. You don't know yet, but you are trying, you can. But let's say I'm talking about, let's say, a developer or a tester
Mm.
who is part of the downstream, who really knows and wants to apply Kanban,
Mhm.
knows the benefit of it. Maybe sometimes they do not have any influence over how their stakeholder will organize the work or triage the work that comes to them. But what they can do is definitely work on the downstream, make things more and more visible,
Mhm.
and then use the data to go back and talk to them. or give
Exactly.
data to
Because
product
now
owner.
it's easy to tell them and show them the problem. We don't even need to show them the problem. They look at the board and they see the problem already, right? Which we couldn't do it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, because again, going back to, data informed decision
Mhm.
making, the thing is that when you are showing people the data, the emotions are being used less in that case. So people don't get emotional about it. I mean, sometimes they can, but most of the time you can really use the data in a way to convey the message. But if you just talk to them, then most of the time they get defensive because it
Mhm.
directly points finger at them, which we don't want to do.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So at least now we have, as you said, we have some information to go and talk and negotiate and see what will be the best decision.
hmm, that's good. So that's a lot of benefit that you have got in 2 weeks.
Yeah, with just simple, proper workflow and Kanban board.
Yeah. Have you implemented WIP limit?
No.
Oh, that's another thing I would like to
That's a
probably
different, totally different,
understand, right? But what
conversation.
I'm trying to say that when people study Kanban or they learn about Kanban, so please remember you can apply one or all of the practices together. For
Mm.
now, you're visualizing the flow, the workflow.
Yeah,
And that's giving you more than enough benefit to start and gain trust from
exactly.
your stakeholders, from your team. So the WIP limit can come later. That is not necessary that you have to apply everything at the same time. So this is very important for whoever is listening to this episode. Do not try to apply all the practices at once because again, the change management principle is very important. You have to do it incrementally. So gain trust with something that gives everyone benefit and then they get part of like they become part of the journey. So then
Exactly.
you can start experimenting with other practices.
Absolutely. So don't go with a very big bang because people panic, right? So just do small steps and you get enough benefit. I got enough benefit.
Hmm.
And then gradually, we can go to the next step, of course.
But I'm very happy for you, Orod, because I know how it feels working in an environment where, like it's very low maturity and also the trust is less. But now you are getting somewhere and Kanban is helping you. That is enough for all of us who is listening to this episode to understand that how Kanban can actually be applied in real life.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thanks, Soma, and thanks, everyone. I hope people got something out of this episode. And as I always said, try, practice, and see how you go, and then adapt as you go.
Yeah,
All right.
experiment.
Thank you, and we come back next week.
Thanks, Orod. Thank you, everyone.